What's good with it in the hood with it? Welcome back to the Collective Clips. And you already know we're about to get it in. Toma. We're going to get it in. Yes, indeedy. Right, before we get into it, man, hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you put your notification bell on all so that you can be abreast of all the dope content that I'm bringing. And let's get it, right? The Collective Clips is in the house. Facts. Now, as you can tell by that thumbnail right there, I wanted to speak on something, on an individual that I actually had willings and dealings with. A lot of conversations, a lot of extensive conversation, sat back and picked his brain. He picked mine. And regardless of how the relationship panned out and how we had differences in opinions and I had differences in my ways of thinking when it concerned this guy, I could tell you first and foremost, man, he had my respect as an individual, as a human being, had a kind heart, was a good dude, made a lot of bad choices in his life. But I can't speak ill on the brother. It just is what it is. Now, for those of you that don't know who Sundown was, he was an old throwback, NF member from the 70s. Okay. He was there in the beginning, man. He was there, when a lot of the foundation was being set up, prior to the Norteño movement. He was originally from down south, Southern California. And then, of course, moved up north because that's the way he leaned. But at the end of the day, he was originally from the Southern California area and did represent his gente, his raza, his Native American people as well, because he did have native blood. He represented them how he was supposed to while he was incarcerated. Back in them days in the 70s, it was a lot different than it is now. A lot was going on. There was a lot of turmoil within the system. There's always a lot going on behind them walls within the system, And at that time, one group was predominant and had control of everything, and another group stepped up and decided that for no other reason, they were going to stray away from the masses and pretty much establish their own thing. We all know how that whole history and that story plays out. If you're able to sustain and do that, then you do that. If you're not, you're not. In most cases, there's been a lot of groups that try to spring from the ashes that just got watered down, right? They just couldn't do it. Very few people have the mental capacity to lead and very few want to follow. But if you're a leader and you're able to establish something and it takes fire and it blows up, well, man, you got to give them their flowers, man. People did that. Sundown was part of that movement. Sundown was part of that establishment of, getting shit together for La Onda. He was part of that, he was part of the NF's history. His name's written all over it. He definitely was what he said he was. Now, a lot of the stories that he told while on YouTube, a lot of people didn't believe. There was some that I didn't quite believe. But I wasn't there. I wasn't there to say whether they happened or not. And you respect the man when he tells his stories. There's a lot of stories that I tell that people don't believe. And I understand it. Some of it seems far-fetched and a little outlandish. And unless you're there at that exact moment in time, you'll never understand what it takes or how it feels to be in them situations. So a lot of the things that he would tell me, although I knew him to be true, and I knew that a lot of the people that he said he knew, he did actually know because they co-signed and verified for him, I didn't feel I was in a position to even go that route, to have his stories verified or co-signed. I mean, this guy was doing this gangster shit way before a lot of us were even born or before a lot of us even knew what North and South was. He was a legend in his own mind and in his own time. And you can't take nothing away from someone who actually did that. When you look at the NF's history and a lot of the things that's went on from the beginning to now current, Sundown's name is there. He wrote this book called Thief on a Cross, which I read the book. And there was a lot of skepticism when it came to that book because there was a lot of craziness involved in that book. There was a lot of things that I didn't quite understand or I didn't quite agree with. Some weird shit, right? Going on in that book. He was very descriptive and detailed in some of his willings and dealings while incarcerated. But you have to understand it was a different era back then. Back then, punks were running the yard. Back then, dudes had punks, right? Back then, it was just different. So for us now to listen to these stories, it's like, oh, come on now, bro. We look at, the forefathers and the legends, like Dubs calls them and whatever, as up here, as gods, basically. And to see, some of the things that were going on, spoken on from someone who was actually there, it was a twist on what we're used to hearing. And that's all I can say about that. This man recently passed away. I got to know him pretty good, via the phone, via conversations, via computer, text messages. And one thing I could say about him, man, was he was definitely intrigued by what was going on now. He was definitely heavily involved in what was going on in his community, which was a prison community. This guy gave back. He sent packages, books, reading materials, writing materials, things that prisoners need while incarcerated that maybe their family can't provide or they have no family to provide for them. He did do that. That's facts. He tried to look out because he understood the hardships and the struggles that you go through behind them walls. And he didn't just look out for people from the north. He looked out for any raza that he was able to aid, anyone that needed his help. I got to commend that guy for that. Got to respect that. Now, a lot of the things, and I'm going to be cut and dry and raw and real when I speak. A lot of the things I didn't agree with. I didn't agree with maybe some of the times or the ways that he looked when telling these stories. It was like he was mesmerized with some of this shit that I thought was weird, right? And I'm not trying to speak ill of the dead, man. Rest in peace to this man. I'm just saying, there was one time where we were doing a live. And he was telling a story about some youngster that, was having it bad while locked up. He went in there, this youngster didn't know what he fell into. And it goes two ways. Either you're young and you're eager, you want to gain status and you go in there and you're just hitting everyone doing pegadas and you want that notoriety and that respect, Holmes, and you got to earn it. Everything needs to be earned in prison. Nothing is given. You might have a homeboy that's your taita, your road dog from the streets, but he's running that yarda, and that doesn't mean anything is given to you but a pedazo to handle your business. That's just what it is. Every man shall stand on his own 10 toes and do what he has to do. I understand that. I respect it. It's been told to me. The pedazo's been given to me. So I know. So not everyone could use it. Some can, some won't. Some will lock it up and say, no, I ain't doing it. And some will just go out there and handle their business. That's the measure of a man, whatever you want it to be. Hey, I don't look at you anyway, either way. If you say, nah, man, I ain't shit. I'm not a killer. I'm just, I just fuck a lot. Then it's cool. But hey, that's not a place or an area where you can fuck around. That's a place where you either got to be about it or get done by it. So when he used to tell these stories, we're on a live one day and it was old school shit. It was back when we had the circus, everybody was talking. And, he started speaking on the situation with this kid and telling the story. And I was intrigued, like, wow, man, I can only imagine what this kid was going through, some of the hardships he was facing. And then he started to get into some type of weird shit, how this guy was a beautiful specimen and he ain't never seen nothing like him. And he looked off in the distance. And I remember thinking to myself, it's funny now that I think about it. I remember thinking to myself, wow, that's like, you remind me of Dr. Emmett Brown from Back to the Future, right? Fucking Marty McFly was just a beautiful specimen, right? I was like, great Scots, right? I remember thinking that it passed my mind. I was like, there was some things I just couldn't agree with this man on. Like, he was still stuck in them 70s and them early 80s. He was still stuck in what the NF was or what he wanted it to be rather than what it was. Now, there's always been a lot of rumors that he had fallen off or that he had defected or dropped out. And there was a lot of people that say they ran into him in high desert. He was running native. And none of that matters to me. This is not an exposed spot where I'm going to expose Sundown after he passed because I wouldn't do it in the, while he was present. I'm just telling you like I see it and like I call it. That's what was told to me, that there was a lot of different he said, she said. And I remember asking him about it, what was the situation? And he said, no, I retired, homie. I stepped back. I got old. I wanted to take care of my family and I no longer was involved in the politics of it, but his heart was always there. See, when you dedicate yourself to an organization or you dedicate yourself into something you truly believe, your heart is always going to be in it. I'd be a fool, a fat mouth, and a liar if I sat here and told you that I still don't got love for the Norteño cause, because I do, right? I got a lot of homeboys that still represent. They're still active. They're still out there doing their thing. And I respect that, homes. But I also want them to respect the fact that I'm not part of that no more. Doesn't mean I ain't got no love for the canalismo and all the great things that was instilled in me and the education I learned. I thank them. I thank the organization and I thank the Norteño movement because without them, they wouldn't make me the man I am today. Now, I understand there's a lot of people that feel a certain way about me because they think, or they judge or they prejudge or they think I'm a sucker or a punk because I'm no longer involved in gangs. But then they'll have a homeboy that falls off or they'll have a homeboy that doesn't know, like goes to church or does whatever. And then that's still their homie. They're cool with him. But this guy over here is bad. But this guy over here is good. It's pickers and choosers, man. It's individualism. And I don't play that shit. Hey, everybody is the same. I said, we all be the same sangre. It all comes out of us. That's just what it's always going to be. Now, when it came to him, I respected the fact that he was an original gangster, man. He was what you considered an OG. Style, class. And I know a lot of people tripped because of Sundown's book. A lot of people had a lot to say about him. You know, he got labels thrown on him like Chiruju and weirdo and things like that. But at the end of the day, man, you got to understand them eras were different. Them things were not frowned upon. It was what it was. Okay, I hate to say it, but it's part of the dark history of what was going on in prison at that time. I'm not going to hear him promote and say that that was fucking kosher and that was cool, because I don't believe it was, right? Never will. But to each their own, man. You know, if you like to go that route, you know, then handle your business, eh? Just don't tell me about it. Don't write a book about it, right? I had a lot of conversations with this man. We had one of the biggest videos on my channel, or one of the videos that got looked at and commented on the most, was this story that Sundown told. And this was kind of where our relationship fell off, because I had to call bullshit, right? But there was a story that was told by this guy. And again, man, I'm not here to tell you whether it was true or not. I don't know. It was that man's story. Let him tell it. But I remember he actually called the Vatos from a convict's perspective and was like, hey, I got a story for you guys. I want to give you guys a story. You know, is there any little compensation in it? Because he was always about that money. That man was shrewd about the, and he called you over and over and over fucking again for his money. Believe me, the video wasn't even uploaded yet, and the Vato already wanted, I need mine. Can I get mine? This guy need mine. I was like, fuck, bro, let me cash my check in. Shit. Give me a chance. That's it. Dang, you Vatos a fucking, you want your 30% off the top, huh? Straight, you know it, right? So I said, shh, you still got that in you. It's instilled in you, eh? Right? So this Vato tells me, he ends up calling me. He's like, hey, I tried to give the story to the homies. They didn't want it. You know, they were busy or whatever they had going on, you know. But I was like, yeah, I jumped all on it, because I was like, man, I'm going to sit down with an ex-legend, someone who actually was involved, you know, at a high level, you know, and knew a lot of people and still does, or, you know, it did up until just, you know, he passed. So he was like, I was like, I don't want you to tell me the story, eh? I want to do it, you know, over a StreamYard, and I want it to be authentic. I want to hear it for the first time. So that way all my expressions and everything is, you know, I just want to hear it for the first time. So it's authentic. I don't want to hear it and then just fake it like, oh shit, oh, for reals, right? Now I want it to be real. Pura. 10-5 a key. So this Vato tells me, starts telling the story, and the story seems real familiar to a story I just heard told by Sammy the Bull, right? It seemed like absolutely almost dead on the same. Now, I didn't call him a liar outright. I just, as he's saying this story, I'm like, wow, you know, can two things like this happen to two individuals exactly, almost to the T, you know? And there was a lot of discrepancies, and I said, well, the Vato's old, you know, he's done forgot a lot of shit, remembers a lot of shit. I'm just going to roll with it. And I did. Later on, I got to thinking, and I was like, you know what? I have to put out there my true feelings of how I feel. You know, I feel that there was some deceit and there was some lies, man, just straight up. Not judging this man, saying he was a liar or that he wasn't about it, because let's take his history of what he did and what he brought to the organization to the side. But as a man, I felt like maybe he was putting a little hot sauce on some of his stories and was a little outlandish, you know? And it doesn't mean I didn't respect him. I just couldn't believe some of the stuff I was hearing. And a lot of people felt the same way. You know, there was a lot of people that didn't like Sundown just based upon the fact that, you know, he spoke that gospel, that propaganda that, you know, well, people have always said that, you know, that the NF was doing a lot of hits, and, you know, he just was going back to that. And there's this big argument that happens, man, which I've talked to Dubs, I've talked to other people, and we just shake our heads about this argument. Well, they only killed one guy from this organization, or these guys killed this many guys, or we killed these many guys. At the end, does it matter, man? Blood was spilt. You know, it's history. Who did what and how it was done and how many bodies dropped on either side, man, that's neither here nor there. The sad part about it is Raza was murdered. Raza died, man, for something they truly believed in. That's what should matter at the end of the day. That's what we should respect and celebrate, man. The sacrifices people have made for a cause that they believed in. Whether that cause is righteous or not righteous and you choose to believe the one way or the other, I truly believe just that sacrifice, Holmes, for the canalismo and for the respect is what I celebrate for these individuals. You know, I don't think all Vatos are bad that are in organized crime or that are out there doing their thing. I don't think that they go in with bad intentions. I think that they're a part of something that's bigger than themselves, and they have to act accordingly. That's what it is. Sundown was one of them guys that acted accordingly on several occasions. I'm sure of it. You don't achieve or elevate yourself into that level of status that he had being a punk, okay? You don't achieve that status or that level behind them walls being a fucking misguided individual or not having no education. You know, all these guys that do have status and are something because they've strived to be that. They've educated their minds, right? Now you say to yourself, yeah, well, educating your mind is getting a highlight out here. You know, when they do get older, I was in the same boat, man. I lost a lot of good years, a lot of good time trying to play a role of somebody I actually wasn't, trying to be and care and worry about what others that thought about me that I didn't even grow up with, only to be told later on that I couldn't go back to my own hometown or my own barrio because now my homeboys don't like me because other guys said something about me. It just is part of the game. Like people always say, you know what you signed up for. This guy Sundown knew exactly what he signed up for. His whole life surrounded, even after getting away from the group and getting away from the gangs, he still thrived on it. It was part of his history. It was part of his stories every day. We had a lot of conversations, a lot of good times, a lot of laughs, a lot of memories. He gave me game that I always will be indebted to him for. I know a lot of people thought that I slandered his name or I talked shit about him, and I just kept it real. Do you want me to be fake and fake it, or do you want me to be real and keep it fucking as gangster as I can? That's what I do, man. That's why I'm hated so much on this YouTube yarda, right? Because I'm going to fucking tell you the truth. There's a lot of people that would sugarcoat and play active and play the nice guy and play the role. That's why I respect people like Boxer. The dude got at me the other day. He was like, keep Boxer's name out of your mouth. I said, why? You know, do you know him like that? Does he know you like that? Because let me tell you how Boxer type of person he is. Fuck you. That's the way he is. You know, if he don't know you, it's fuck you. So straight up, humps. Hey, if I speak, I'm not speaking ill of the man. I'm going to speak with a respectful tone in my voice because that's how I truly feel. If I didn't like him, then I would fucking keep it cool and say it the other way. You know, that's me. I'm going to deal with the repercussions for my actions, not you. So get up out my shit talking about, oh, keep his name out your mouth. Keep my name out your mouth, bitch. Straight up. Out your dientes before I knock off your lentes. And that's facts. Now, anyways, with Sundown, I wanted to make this video because he gave me some game and I left him with the saying that I think now after his death, man, and it shocked me. I didn't even know he was dead. I seen it on another channel and I was like, wow, you know, I'm out of the loop like that when it comes to, you know, I took a step back from everybody. I don't involve myself with any other channels besides Dub's channel and, of course, Food and Felons and Trap Island Records. So, but I still watch. I'm still watching. I'm still supporting people just behind the scenes. But I took a step back, right? I did that for my own sanity and my own, you know, I don't know who to trust, man. People talk, there's too much he said, comadre shit going on behind the scenes. And people think I don't know when I do. And it's a whole lot of bullshit. Not gang shit, but a whole lot of bullshit. You know, not gang. So anyways, when I found out this guy passed, man, it hurt my heart for his family. It hurt my heart for the man that he was. We truly lost a legend that was around, was a dinosaur. Did I agree with him at all times? Absolutely not. But it doesn't mean I'm going to disrespect that man. Anyways, with that being said, facts and truth, man. Read his book, A Thief on the Cross, to get an understanding of the type of man he was. Behind the scenes, personally, I could tell you, he was a cool dude, man. He was a shrewd dude. He needed his money, but he was a cool guy. Great storyteller, just didn't know if all the stories were true. But hey, that's neither here nor there. You know, he's probably looking down right now saying, you son of a bitch. With that being said, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose, get everything that you want coming. Remember, man, we only have one life to live, man. You never know when you're going to go. And how are people going to speak on your name when you're gone? Is it with respect or is it with disrespect? You know, one never knows, does one. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive and struggle and strive for what I honestly and truly believe in. And that's being as real as I can. There it is there. Rest in peace to Sundown.